What if the very maps we use to understand ourselves are too wild, too ancient, too dangerous for the quiet halls of learning? Imagine, for a moment, that deep within each of us lies a vast, uncharted ocean, filled with forgotten stories and powerful currents. For centuries, we've tried to chart this inner world with neat lines and logical explanations. But what if the true landscape of the human soul defies such easy categorization? What if its raw power, its untamed beauty, and its profound mysteries are simply too much for the careful, controlled environment of academic study? This isn't just a philosophical musing. It's the core question that whispers from the pages of Carl Jung's work, a pioneering mind who dared to dive into those very depths. Jung looked beyond the surface of the mind, past our everyday thoughts and feelings, into a realm he called the collective unconscious. He believed this was a shared inheritance, a psychic bedrock connecting all humanity, filled with echoes of ancient myths, universal symbols, and primal instincts. But here's where the danger begins. To truly engage with Jung's ideas isn't just to read about them, it's to experience them. It means confronting the wildness within, acknowledging forces that don't always make logical sense, and opening ourselves to truths that can shake our carefully constructed realities. Academia, with its emphasis on measurable facts and objective analysis, often finds itself uneasy with such profound, subjective exploration. It prefers the known paths, the well-lit corridors. But Jung invites us into the shadows, into the ancient forests of the soul, where the real adventure, and perhaps the real healing, truly lies. This journey into the dangerous depths of the psyche truly begins with Carl Jung. He wasn't just a scholar, he was an explorer, charting territories of the mind that others deemed too obscure, too mystical, or simply too illogical. Imagine a vast library, filled not with books, but with the lived experiences of every human being who ever existed. Jung believed we all carry a key to this library, even if we rarely use it. He called it the collective unconscious. This wasn't just a theory to Jung, it was a living, breathing reality that spoke through dreams, myths, and symbols. He saw patterns repeating across cultures and centuries: the wise old man, the trickster, the hero's quest. These weren't learned behaviors. They were archetypes, universal blueprints for human experience etched into the very fabric of our being. They are the ancient stories playing out in our modern lives, often without our conscious awareness. Jung's profound insights, however, pushed far beyond the tidy frameworks of traditional psychology. His work ventured into realms of spirituality, alchemy, and myth, areas often viewed with suspicion by a scientific establishment seeking concrete, measurable data. How do you quantify the feeling of awe inspired by a powerful symbol? How do you put a number on the wisdom found in a recurring dream? Jung's approach demanded a different kind of understanding, one that embraced paradox, welcomed ambiguity, and acknowledged the soul's inherent need for meaning, not just explanation. This made his work both deeply appealing to those seeking deeper truths and deeply unsettling to institutions comfortable with logic alone. At the heart of Jung's exploration lies the profound idea of the collective unconscious. Imagine not just your own personal memories, thoughts, and feelings, but a deeper layer of mind that belongs to all of us. Think of it as an ancient river, flowing beneath the surface of individual consciousness, carrying the sediment of human experience from countless generations. It's a shared psychic inheritance, a deep well of human wisdom and instinct. This isn't something we learn in school, it's something we are born with. It's why certain stories, symbols, and dreams resonate so deeply across different cultures, even those that have never met. Why do tales of heroes facing dragons or wise old women in forests appear in nearly every corner of the globe? Jung said it's because these images and patterns are hardwired into our collective mind. They are not just stories, they are reflections of universal human experiences and challenges. The collective unconscious is like a cosmic blueprint for the human soul. It holds the echoes of our ancestors' triumphs and struggles, their fears and their hopes. It's the source of our deepest instincts, our intuitive knowing, and our spontaneous creativity. When you feel a sudden, inexplicable connection to a piece of art, or a profound sense of meaning in a dream, you might be tapping into this shared reservoir. It's a powerful, hidden force that shapes our thoughts, dreams, and relationships in ways we often don't consciously understand. It's a testament to the idea that we are all profoundly connected, not just by shared air, but by a shared psyche. To truly grasp this profound idea of the collective unconscious, let's turn to a story as old as time itself, the hero's journey. Think of any epic tale, from ancient myths like Odysseus's travels to modern blockbusters. A seemingly ordinary person is called to adventure, faces trials and monsters, receives help from a wise mentor, descends into darkness, and ultimately returns transformed, bringing a gift back to their community. This isn't just one story, it's the story, repeated in countless variations across every culture, every era. Why? Because, as Jung understood, the hero's journey is an archetype. It's a pattern of transformation deeply embedded in our shared human psyche. It's not something we learn from a book, but an innate blueprint for growth and overcoming challenges that resides in the collective unconscious. The hero, the wise old guide, the shadow beast, these aren't just characters in a tale. They are reflections of universal experiences and forces within ourselves. We instinctively understand the hero's struggle because we have all faced our own trials. We recognize the need for a wise mentor because we all seek guidance. And we know the fear of the shadow because we all grapple with our own inner demons. This ancient narrative isn't just entertainment, it's a symbolic map, guiding us through the inevitable passages of life, showing us how to face the unknown, embrace change, and find meaning in our own personal quests. The myth lives within us, whispering its timeless wisdom. So, what exactly are these powerful archetypes that populate the collective unconscious? Think of them as universal patterns, primordial blueprints for human behavior and experience, inherited not through genetics, but through the psyche itself. They are not specific people or ideas, but rather empty forms, like riverbeds that are filled with water from individual experiences. We've already touched upon the hero, the one who faces challenges and strives for greatness. But there are many more. Consider the shadow, not just your personal flaws, but the dark, repressed aspects of human nature that we all carry. It's the part of us we deny, hide, or project onto others, yet it holds immense energy and potential if consciously acknowledged. Then there are the anima and animus, representing the feminine principle in men and the masculine principle in women, respectively. These inner figures influence our relationships, our creativity, and how we understand the opposite gender. They are bridges to our whole selves, inviting integration rather than suppression. The wise old man or woman offers guidance and wisdom, while the trickster challenges norms and brings about change through chaos. These archetypes are not mere concepts. They are living forces that shape our thoughts, our dreams, and our relationships. They emerge in our myths, our art, and our everyday interactions, guiding our choices and coloring our perceptions. Understanding them isn't about fitting ourselves into boxes, but about recognizing the grand, ancient narratives that play out within us, helping us to navigate the human condition with greater awareness and depth. These archetypes, these ancient blueprints, aren't just abstract ideas. They are living, breathing presences that manifest in countless ways, often without our conscious knowledge. Think about your dreams. Why do certain figures, animals, or situations appear again and again? A powerful dragon might symbolize a personal challenge or a repressed fear, an aspect of your shadow. A wise old woman might offer guidance, embodying the archetype of the sage. Dreams are often the royal road to the unconscious, where archetypes speak in their native tongue of symbol and metaphor. Beyond our slumber, archetypes weave themselves into the fabric of our waking lives. Look at art, from ancient cave paintings to modern cinema. Why are we so drawn to stories of heroes overcoming evil, or narratives of profound love and loss? Because these stories tap into the archetypal patterns within us. The villain in a movie might be a projection of our own shadow, while the brave protagonist reflects our inner hero. In everyday life, these patterns subtly shape our understanding of the world. When we meet someone who feels instantly trustworthy, we might be responding to the good mother, or wise father, archetype they embody. When we feel compelled to take a risk, it might be the call to adventure from the hero archetype stirring within. These deep, inherited patterns influence our choices, our attractions, our fears, and our aspirations, painting the colors of our experience even when we don't realize it. They are the unseen forces that give meaning and structure to the chaotic flow of human existence. So, if these archetypes are so fundamental to human experience, why does Jungian psychology remain on the fringes of mainstream academia? The answer lies in the very nature of these deep, primal forces. Engaging with them can be profoundly unsettling, even threatening, to a purely rational, empirical academic approach. Imagine a scientist meticulously studying a flower, counting its petals, analyzing its chemical composition. This is a vital, rational approach. Now imagine telling that scientist that the flower also holds a symbolic meaning, that it's a manifestation of the Great Mother archetype, speaking to themes of fertility and growth. The scientist might dismiss this as poetic fancy, unprovable and irrelevant to their data. Academia, by its very definition, seeks to categorize, quantify, and explain phenomena in a way that can be tested and replicated. But how do you measure the power of a recurring dream symbol? How do you put a number on the feeling of awe when a myth resonates deeply within your soul? These are experiences of meaning, not just data points. Jung's work invites us to step into the subjective, the symbolic, the irrational, realms that are difficult to pin down with scientific instruments. It demands a different kind of engagement, one that asks us to feel, to intuit, to grapple with paradox, rather than simply analyze. This challenges the very foundations of what many academic institutions consider valid knowledge. It asks scholars to look beyond the microscope and into the mirror of the soul, a journey some find too daunting, too personal, and yes, too dangerous. So, why exactly is Jungian psychology perceived as dangerous by academia? It's not about physical harm, of course. The danger is to the established order of thought, to the comfortable certainty that everything can be neatly explained and controlled. Jung's work dares to place the irrational at the center of human experience, not as a flaw, but as a vital source of wisdom. Mainstream academia often champions the empirical method, what can be observed, measured, and repeated in a lab. But how do you measure a symbol's impact on the soul? How do you quantify the feeling of a profound dream? Jung's focus on the symbolic language of the unconscious, on myths and dreams, feels too nebulous, too poetic, for the hard sciences. It resists easy definition, making it difficult to fit into academic boxes. Furthermore, Jung emphasized the subjective experience. While modern psychology often seeks universal truths through statistical analysis, Jung argued that the individual's inner journey, their unique relationship with their unconscious, was paramount. This deeply personal, introspective process can't be easily standardized or replicated in a study. It demands a different kind of rigor, one that involves self-reflection and a willingness to confront one's own inner world, rather than just observing others. This embrace of the subjective, the symbolic, and the irrational challenges the very bedrock of what academia often defines as knowledge. It suggests that truth isn't always found in data points, but sometimes in the echoes of ancient stories, in the whispers of dreams, and in the profound, unexplainable connections we feel to something greater than ourselves. And for many, this shift in perspective is not just uncomfortable, it feels genuinely threatening to their intellectual framework. To understand the unique value and challenge of Jung's perspective, it helps to see it against the backdrop of more mainstream psychological theories. Think of modern psychology often as a well-lit laboratory, carefully observing behaviors, measuring brain activity, or analyzing cognitive processes with precision. It aims to diagnose, categorize, and often, to fix what is perceived as broken. It seeks universal laws that apply to everyone. Jung's approach, however, is more like exploring an ancient, candlelit temple. Instead of focusing solely on observable behavior or conscious thought, he delved into the vast, shadowy realms of the unconscious, seeking patterns of meaning, not just mechanisms. While other theories might ask, "What causes this behavior?" Jung might ask, "What myth is this person living out? What archetypal drama is unfolding within their soul?" This shift in focus offers immense value. It provides a language for the ineffable, for those profound experiences that statistics can't capture. It gives context to our deepest spiritual longings, our creative impulses, and our inexplicable attractions and fears. Jung doesn't just treat symptoms, he seeks to understand the soul's journey towards wholeness. But this is also its challenge. The temple is not as easily mapped as the laboratory. Its truths are often symbolic, paradoxical, and deeply personal. It demands a willingness to engage with ambiguity, to trust intuition, and to embark on a journey of self-discovery that is as much art as it is science. This unique blend of the mystical and the intellectual, while deeply grounding for many, stands in stark contrast to the empirical demands of much of modern academia, making it a path less traveled, yet profoundly rich. Let me share an example of how understanding an archetype can bring profound insight into personal struggles. Imagine a young woman, let's call her Alara, who constantly feels overlooked and unheard, despite being highly capable. She finds herself always supporting others, rarely stepping into the spotlight, and often feeling resentful. On the surface, it might seem like low self-esteem or a fear of success. Through Jungian exploration, Alara begins to understand the archetype of the sacrificing mother, or nurturer, operating within her. This isn't about her actual mother, but a universal pattern of selflessness, giving, and putting others' needs first. While noble, an over-identification with this archetype can lead to neglecting one's own desires and power. Alara realizes she has been living out this ancient script, unconsciously believing her worth came solely from her ability to serve and sacrifice. This insight isn't a simple fix, but it's a profound awakening. She sees that her resentment isn't a flaw, but a signal that another archetype, perhaps the warrior or the queen, is clamoring for expression. This understanding gives her permission to acknowledge her own needs, to set boundaries, and to pursue her ambitions without guilt. She learns that true nurturing includes nurturing herself. It transforms her struggle from a personal failing into a dynamic interplay of universal forces, allowing her to consciously choose a more balanced path and integrate these previously suppressed aspects of her being. This is the power of Jung, transforming confusion into cosmic understanding. The profound insights gleaned from understanding archetypes lead us to Jung's ultimate aim, a lifelong journey he called individuation. Imagine your life not as a straight path, but as a spiral, continually circling back to deeper layers of yourself. Individuation is the process of becoming a whole, unique individual by integrating all the different parts of your psyche, both the conscious and the unconscious. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming complete. It means acknowledging your light and your shadow, your masculine and feminine energies, your inner child and your wise elder. It's about bringing these seemingly opposing forces into a dynamic balance, rather than letting one dominate or suppressing another. Think of it as weaving a rich tapestry, where every thread, even the dark ones, contributes to the overall beauty and strength. This journey is deeply personal, unfolding uniquely for each individual. It involves listening to the whispers of your dreams, understanding the symbols that emerge in your life, and courageously confronting aspects of yourself that you might have previously ignored or disowned. It's a process of expanding your consciousness, moving beyond the narrow confines of your ego to connect with the vast wisdom of your deeper self and the collective unconscious. Individuation is not an endpoint, it's a continuous unfolding, a becoming. It's the soul's quest for wholeness, for authenticity, for aligning with its true purpose. And it is through this journey that we don't just understand the archetypes, but we embody them, bringing their ancient wisdom into our modern lives in a way that is both deeply personal and universally resonant. It is the ultimate act of self-discovery, a sacred pilgrimage within. A crucial, yet often feared, part of the individuation journey is confronting one's shadow. The shadow is not inherently evil, but rather the sum of all the repressed, disowned, and darker aspects of our personality. It's the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable, whether it's anger, jealousy, selfishness, or even powerful creativity we've been told to suppress. We push these qualities into the dark corners of our unconscious, hoping they'll disappear. But the shadow doesn't vanish, it simply operates from the depths, often projecting itself onto others. That person who irritates you beyond measure? They might be embodying a quality of your own unacknowledged shadow. The intense judgment you feel towards someone else? It could be a reflection of what you deny within yourself. This is why confronting the shadow is so vital, and yet so often avoided. It requires us to look at the parts of ourselves we'd rather pretend don't exist. The transformative power, however, is immense. When we stop running from our shadow and instead turn to face it, we reclaim immense energy that was previously tied up in suppression. We integrate these disowned parts, not to become bad, but to become whole. Acknowledging our capacity for anger can lead to healthy assertiveness. Recognizing our selfishness can lead to self-care rather than self-sacrifice. The shadow, once integrated, becomes a source of vitality, authenticity, and profound self-knowledge. It's a journey into the dark, yes, but it's a journey towards light and wholeness, illuminating the true extent of who we are, not just who we pretend to be. This symbolic journey of self-discovery, this path of individuation, is not a linear march but a descent and an ascent, an exploration akin to venturing into ancient, overgrown ruins. Imagine yourself as an archaeologist, trowel in hand, carefully uncovering layers of forgotten civilizations within your own mind. Each shattered vase, each faded fresco, is a symbol, an archetype, a fragment of a story waiting to be understood. Or perhaps it's more like navigating uncharted territories within the mind, a vast inner landscape where mist-shrouded mountains rise from deep, silent valleys. There are sun-drenched meadows of joy and creativity, but also dense, shadowed forests where our deepest fears and repressed desires dwell. You might encounter a roaring river representing powerful emotions, or a hidden spring offering renewal. These are not just metaphors. They are the living topography of your soul, rich with meaning and potential. This journey demands courage. It asks us to leave the familiar maps of our conscious ego behind and trust the compass of our intuition. We must be willing to walk through the crumbling gates of old beliefs, to descend into the forgotten crypts of our past, and to climb the challenging peaks of self-transformation. It is in these sacred, sometimes unsettling, spaces that we encounter the true breadth of our being, not just the small self we present to the world, but the vast, ancient, and ever-unfolding self that Jung called the whole personality. It is here, among the echoes of myth and the whispers of dreams, that we truly begin to know ourselves. This journey of self-discovery through Jungian work is fundamentally different from a purely academic pursuit. It's not enough to simply understand the concepts of archetypes or the collective unconscious in an intellectual way. You can read all the books, memorize all the definitions, and still miss the profound essence of what Jung was pointing to. Jungian work isn't about accumulating knowledge, it's about experiencing and integrating these deeper layers of the psyche. Imagine trying to understand the taste of an apple by reading its chemical composition. You might know all the scientific facts, but you won't truly know the apple until you bite into it, until its flavor awakens your senses. Similarly, with Jungian psychology, the real transformation happens when the archetypes move from abstract ideas to living forces within your own being. When you recognize the hero's call in your own life, or feel the stirrings of the shadow in your own reactions, that's when the work truly begins. It demands a willingness to engage emotionally, intuitively, and often vulnerably. It asks you to pay attention to your dreams not as random brain activity, but as messages from your deeper self. It invites you to see the patterns of myth playing out in your relationships, not as mere coincidences, but as meaningful reflections. This active engagement, this integration of conscious awareness with unconscious wisdom, is where the true power of Jung's insights lies. It moves beyond mere intellectual curiosity to become a living, breathing process of personal evolution, a process that can only unfold within the sacred space of your own inner world. One of the most profound contributions of Jungian ideas is the framework they offer for understanding complex human phenomena that often elude purely rational explanation. Think about spirituality. Why do humans across all cultures and times share a deep, often ineffable, longing for connection to something greater than themselves? Jung would argue this isn't merely a cultural construct, but an inherent drive, rooted in the archetypal experience of the divine or the self. His psychology provides a language to explore these spiritual experiences not as dogma, but as psychological realities. Consider creativity. Where do those sudden bursts of inspiration come from? That feeling of tapping into a source beyond your conscious mind? Jung saw creativity as a direct expression of the unconscious, a flow of archetypal energies seeking form. The artist, the musician, the writer, they often act as vessels for these ancient, universal patterns, bringing them into tangible existence. And then there's the universal human search for meaning. In a world often stripped bare by scientific reductionism, Jung offers a way to re-enchant our lives. He shows us that our personal stories are interwoven with the grand narratives of humanity, that our individual struggles echo archetypal challenges, and that even our suffering can hold profound purpose. By providing a symbolic lens through which to view our lives, Jungian psychology helps us find meaning in the chaos, purpose in our pain, and a sense of belonging in the vast tapestry of human experience. It reconnects us to the soul's deepest needs, offering a holistic understanding that nourishes both mind and spirit. Embracing the dangerous depths of the unconscious, therefore, isn't about courting chaos or losing oneself in irrationality. On the contrary, it holds immense potential for personal growth and profound healing. When we dare to look into the shadows, to listen to the whispers of our dreams, and to understand the ancient patterns playing out within us, we begin to heal the fragmentation of the modern soul. Imagine a garden that has been neglected for years. Weeds choke the beautiful flowers, and essential nutrients are depleted. Many approaches might try to simply cut back the weeds, but Jung invites us to dig deeper, to understand the soil, to cultivate the entire ecosystem. Healing, in this sense, isn't just about removing symptoms, it's about restoring balance and wholeness to the entire psyche. This journey empowers us to move beyond being passive victims of our circumstances or our unconscious drives. By bringing conscious awareness to these deeper forces, we gain a profound sense of agency. We learn to navigate the currents of our inner ocean, rather than being tossed about by them. We transform our wounds into wisdom, our complexes into catalysts for growth, and our fragmented selves into integrated beings. It is a process of reclaiming lost parts of ourselves, finding strength in our vulnerabilities, and ultimately, stepping into a more authentic, meaningful, and vibrant existence. The danger, it turns out, was not in the depths themselves, but in our fear of exploring them. While the journey into the unconscious offers profound healing, it's crucial to acknowledge the potential for misinterpretation or even misuse of Jungian concepts if approached superficially or without proper guidance. These are powerful, ancient forces we are dealing with, not simple psychological tools. Imagine someone picking up a book on alchemy, reading a few lines, and then attempting to turn lead into gold in their backyard. The superficial understanding misses the depth, the symbolism, and the years of dedicated practice required. Similarly, with Jungian psychology, simply labeling oneself as a hero, or dismissing uncomfortable feelings as shadow projections, without genuine self-reflection can be counterproductive. Jung's concepts are often rich in paradox and ambiguity. Without careful exploration and a willingness to sit with uncertainty, one might reduce complex archetypes to simplistic stereotypes. For example, the anima/animus isn't just about men having a feminine side and women a masculine side. It's about the intricate dance of inner contrasexual energies that profoundly influence our inner world and outer relationships. A superficial understanding risks missing the depth and nuance. Moreover, delving into the unconscious without a grounding influence can be overwhelming. Dreams can be disturbing, shadow work can be confronting, and the collective unconscious can feel vast and impersonal. A skilled guide, a Jungian analyst or a seasoned therapist, acts as a wise companion, helping to navigate these inner landscapes, interpret symbols responsibly, and integrate insights safely. Without such guidance, the danger isn't just to academic frameworks, but to the individual's psyche itself, potentially leading to confusion, inflation, or even a sense of being lost in the very depths one sought to explore. The power requires respect and reverence. So, let's reiterate why academia often resists Jungian psychology. It's not out of malice, but from a fundamental difference in approach. Academia, particularly in scientific fields, thrives on objectivity, on data that can be measured, analyzed, and replicated independently. It seeks universal laws that can be proven through experiment and observation, aiming for a detached, intellectual understanding of the world. Jungian psychology, however, demands something profoundly different. It insists on subjective engagement and inner work. It says, "You cannot truly understand the psyche by standing outside it, observing it like a specimen. You must enter it, experience it, and allow it to transform you." This is where the friction arises. How do you grade an experience? How do you publish a feeling of awe? How do you peer review a personal epiphany derived from a dream? The very methodology of Jungian work, dream analysis, active imagination, symbolic interpretation, relies heavily on the individual's inner world and intuitive insights, rather than external, verifiable facts. This isn't to say it lacks rigor, it simply demands a different kind of rigor, one that values depth, meaning, and personal transformation over statistical significance. This shift from purely objective analysis to subjective engagement is the core challenge Jung poses to traditional academic comfort zones. It asks scholars to step out of their role as detached observers and become participants in the mysteries of the soul. It requires a humility that acknowledges the limits of rational thought and an openness to the vast, often paradoxical wisdom of the unconscious. For many academic institutions, this is a bridge too far, a step into a territory they deem too unscientific, too personal, and ultimately, too dangerous to their established ways of knowing. Ultimately, the danger associated with Jungian psychology is not in the ideas themselves. There is nothing inherently harmful about archetypes, the collective unconscious, or the process of individuation. The real danger, the profound challenge that causes academia to recoil, lies in the personal transformation these ideas demand. Imagine being comfortable in a small, familiar room, where everything is known and predictable. Jung doesn't just invite you to read about the vast world outside. He gently, yet firmly, opens the door and asks you to step out, to explore unknown landscapes within yourself. This stepping out can be terrifying. It means questioning long-held beliefs, confronting comfortable illusions, and dismantling the very ego structures that have kept us feeling safe, even if they've also kept us small. Jung's work is not a passive intellectual exercise. It is an active summons to self-reckoning. It demands that we integrate the light and the dark within us, that we face our fears, and that we embrace the paradoxes of being human. This kind of profound personal transformation can be unsettling because it changes who we are at a fundamental level. It challenges our identity, our relationships, and our place in the world. For an academic institution built on stability, replication, and objective distance, a discipline that intentionally seeks to transform the individual who studies it is a radical proposition. It blurs the lines between observer and observed, between theory and lived experience. The danger is not that Jung's ideas are wrong, but that they are so deeply right, so powerfully transformative, that they compel a shift in consciousness that few institutions are prepared to facilitate or even acknowledge. It is the danger of true awakening. We've journeyed through the intricate landscapes of Jungian psychology, exploring the collective unconscious, the power of archetypes, and the transformative path of individuation. We've seen why its mystical, intellectual, and deeply personal nature poses a profound challenge to the rational, empirical fortresses of academia. The danger, we found, is not in the ideas themselves, but in the radical awakening and personal transformation they demand. Jung's legacy invites us not just to think differently about the mind, but to live differently, to engage with the rich tapestry of our inner lives with courage and curiosity. It's an invitation to step beyond the superficial, to seek meaning in the symbolic, and to recognize the ancient wisdom that pulses beneath the surface of our modern existence. So, as we conclude this exploration, I invite you to look within. Beyond the noise of daily life, past the conscious thoughts and worries, there lies a deeper current. It is a river flowing with myths, symbols, and archetypal patterns that have shaped humanity since the dawn of time. It holds the keys to your deepest self, your untapped potential, and your unique purpose. What ancient story is waiting to be heard within your own depths, and are you brave enough to listen? The journey into the soul is the greatest adventure, and its rewards are nothing less than wholeness itself.